I had to take a moment to tune in, and just be with God. What I love about... You don't want to hear me downtown? but I've turned into the God zone now, and that's how it comes out.
But we're supposed to go out and help you.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Speaking of helping, I love that. Thank you. You know, I'm going to just take a second to turn on my phone. Many of you know that my mom is no longer able to come to services regularly anymore, but she likes to hear what's going on. So I'm just going to take a second to turn Mommy in. Oh, I'm sorry. Tune Mommy in, not turn her in. I'm making up my own song. If any of you tell her I said that, she'll know you're telling the truth. She won't worry. So, being that it's our last Sunday here, it's got me to thinking that our topic for the month has been fasting, and we've been talking about the fact that many cultures that have a fasting, it's part of a ritual that they follow, whatever that might be for them. And we've had a ritual here, which I really need to talk about. And I know you're going to wonder, how does this have anything to do with fasting? Trust me, you'll follow the flow. It's not quite as clear as Scott's songs, but you'll get there. When we first started out with the vision and visioning about having our church, had to come up with a location. You know, we didn't just walk into a building and say, cool, let's do church here. So last month we talked about visioning, and we had to vision and pray a lot on where would we have church? And we actually went to some places that were churches renting out space to see if we could find our church home. And because we weren't following what would be considered the traditional church, they were a little skeptical and didn't want to rent to us. And we just continued to vision and pray, knowing that the right and perfect location would appear. It did appear, but I want to let you know how it appeared. We have a beloved person in the room who sits back and is in service all the time. He asks for nothing, and he gives so much. His name is John Kirk, and he's man in the sound booth right now, so I better say something nice or he'll cut me off. John is a master mason in San Jose, the Golden Rule chapter, and a master mason is the highest degree that you can be. So you don't get to rent a space at the Masonic Lodge by dialing up and saying, yo, can I show up and give you money? You have to have an in with someone. Fortunately for us, John had the in. And he talked to the folks here and negotiated a package for us and space for us. And so we had services available to us. Now, when you walk into this room, it's an empty space and it's cold. And our job has been to transform this space into a warm, loving place to receive possibilities of love, cheer, joy, tears, whatever that is that you're seeking. We transform this space with what we call the Bucket Brigade. I want to give thanks to absolutely every single person here that has ever shown up on a Sunday before services to help us with the Bucket Brigade that sets this whole room into place. It prays it up, it loves it up, and anyone who stayed after service to transform that entire place back to how it was, which was part of our exercise routine of going up and down stairs. And we've done it with great gratitude and joy. And it's now time to go to our next spirit home. So we thank the Masonic Lodge for their hospitality. We bless you, John, for your continuous love and joy. But this has been a ritual we have had here. And now we're going on to a new ritual at our new home. And so, in speaking more about fasting as part of a ritual, we've spoken about the traditional rituals that many religions have, but we've also spoken about fasting as a concept of letting go of things that don't work anymore. And last week I spoke a little bit about my traditional faith in Judaism and fasting for Yom Kippur. This week I want to speak about the Native American culture. And I want to talk a little bit about why that's important to me. Because I think we only speak about things that we need to hear about. And we only listen from that same place. What I love about religious science is that we're all embracing we welcome all communities, no matter what you look at, like whether you come from whatever serious background to no background, no God, whatever. We embrace it all. And that's why many of us are here, is we left whatever we used to have to find something that was loving and accepting and took us all in. And that's essentially the Native American culture. I love the fact that they believe that when everyone is in a sweat lodge praying together, that if you heal and you pray, you're all one. So it doesn't matter what you look like or how you show up in the world. You're all one of God's creatures. You're all part of the great Creator. And that, to me, I think is amazing. Now, another reason I wanted to talk about the Native American culture is my mother spent 10 years up in Calgary, Alberta. She taught life coaching classes and a lot of different extensive workshops for 10 years and was very involved in that community. But she also was very involved in the Native American community. And that started out with a gentleman by the name of Chief Roy Whitney, chief of the Sarcee tribe, Treaty 7, coming to her classes. And he worked with her privately, he worked with her in group, and he found that some of the transformation he was getting in his life was so powerful, he wanted to bring her onto the reserve to meet the elders. Now, you don't get to just knock on the door, drive up, and go into the reserve. You have to be invited, and you have to be invited either by the chief or the elders. So it's an honor to be invited to the reserve. So she went to the reserve to meet with the elders to do some work, some spiritual healing work. Now, many of you know that Native Americans suffer at large with alcoholism due to the wonderful European influence of alcohol. Thank you so much for sharing. And so their strive at this time is to heal from that so they can better have a more loving, on-point, purposeful life. And also to purge all the toxicity that occurs when you consume a major amount of substance. So she did a talk with elders who did not speak English, and they had an interpreter. And after that, one of the elders came up to her and blessed her and thanked her for being a healer. She said, "You're a healer, and we are grateful for the work that you do and the work that you share to help us to know who we are and to know our truth." And they deemed her a white medicine woman. Now, this is a sacred thing. You don't hand these out as door prizes either. These are sacred, sacred things. And I've spent time at powwows and on the reserve as a guest, and I've got to tell you, when you embrace that level of love and compassion, it's just as awesome as the Dr. Seuss story Scott just shared. It just leaves you with goosebumps because you get to see something you're not familiar with, but it's part of God, and it's part of how we're all connected. And so I have on this table something that is sacred, so it's not to be touched, but certainly enjoyed and looked at. My mother's medicine bag that was gifted her. Again, it's not something you go to Walmart and buy or go online and order either. And so this blanket is put down, and all the elements are put out. Tobacco was put out as an offering. This is a buffalo horn for strength and personal power. Sage and sweetgrass are burned for purification. The pipe is passed around. And when a medicine wheel is done, it's 4 directions. And when people are doing the 4 directions in the medicine wheel, tobacco is put in, the pipe is lit, you're drawing on the pipe. And based on the directions you're in, because you turn to the different directions, based on the directions, if you're blocked somewhere, when you try to draw on the pipe, even if it's lit and burning, you'll get no smoke. And so that's kind of how they determined where you were blocked. Okay? So that's pretty amazing because their connection to their creator, their spirit God is so powerful that that's how they tune into where are they out of alignment with God. And then that's when they give thought thoughts to what they want to pray about, to block or to unleash that block so that they're able to be more connected. And that's where fasting comes into play. Fasting is part of a ritual that they use for vision quests, sweat lodges, marriage ceremonies, puberty rites of passage. You fast for 24 hours before this so that you have opened yourself up to the receptivity, so that you're receptive to hearing, and that your body is freeing itself of toxins, your mind is freeing itself of block and limitation, so you can know what to ask the great Creator to better serve yourself. And I just thought, wow, that's not any different from us in doing a treatment or in praying with a prayer partner. How do we get past our blocks? Well, some of us are totally aware of where our blocks are. And we're able to just go up to a practitioner or a minister or a prayer partner and pray about it. And use spiritual tools. Fasting is an element in their tradition that is a spiritual tool. And since I don't have all of this totally memorized and I really don't want to misspeak something and be disrespectful, I'm going to just read a little something. So, fasting is still considered powerful medicine. It allows us to tune into our humanness. It allows us to have the unfoldment of the meaning of life by allowing ourselves to be receptive. And a lot of people have heard about Native Americans going on quests where they're out and they're doing a quest from anywhere from 1 to 10 days. And they're high on peyote. Well, some people still do that. Other people use fasting as a form of just opening themselves up so extensively that they are able to hear the wisdom of the great Creator talking to them. And then they're able to pray on that and to ask the great Creator, and usually that's done in a sacred ceremony in a sweat lodge. They're asking the great Creator for answers to be revealed. They're asking for forgiveness. They're asking for knowledge and wisdom and to know what is next for their greatest good. And if I don't see how that parallels with religious science and our teaching, wow, I don't really know what else does. It's just totally more earth-based. But natives see everybody the same. That's why they're also considered, a rainbow nation. They welcome all people from all walks of life. But I do want to share one little fact. Part of the reason that alcohol was even introduced to them was when the Europeans came over and wanted to take them as slaves and physically and verbally and emotionally abuse them. At the same time, they were thrilled enough to offer them whiskey. And so natives began to become stoned on a regular basis with whiskey, intoxicated, to numb out the pain and suffering inflicted upon them. And so all of their healing journey at this time is around other people inflicting harm on them. But at the same time, they purge all of that to be more pure and more special and more grounded in who they are. And so I just wanted to share a little bit about the culture because I had a chance to actually experience a little bit of it. And it's just another way to see that fasting is this amazing tool. And I know last week I spoke about how I looked at fasting as a negative thing. But as I was really researching and studying around the natives, I thought, I want to be able to maybe once a month do a day fast, to experience what it's like to let go of all the stuff that I put in my body throughout the week that doesn't work for me. And that way I can be more grounded and more alive and more vibrant in my prayer. So that's, to me, a little bit about Native American culture and fasting. And Reverend Abigail joked with me. She says, I'm really thrilled that I was gone for 2 weeks of the month because thinking of things to talk about for fasting are really hard. And I thought, awesome, I'm so glad that you allowed me to share part of that burden with you, really. Because you're trying to think of spins about fasting that connect to people and make sense to people and give them some insight of other people. Because if we are a philosophy that embraces everyone, then it's important to know about how other people worship and how other people practice. So fasting for them is about purity. Purity of their mind, their body, their spirit, and being connected to the great divine. So thank you for letting me share a little bit about fasting. I know that today is the best Sunday ever because we're closing one thing, we're going to another thing, which is great and good. And I would love personally for you all to put recommendations in for next week for Reverend Abigail for fasting. Because you probably have some ideas we're not aware of and we'd like to hear about them. So let's take a moment to go inward and pray. Divine Spirit, infinite creator of all, we know that you are absolutely in and through everything, and you are in and through us, and we are connected to you as we are connected to one another. And from that connectivity, we heal ourselves of anything that is unlike the truth of who we are. We fast to remember who we are as magnificent, and we fast on many levels. Maybe we fast on negative thoughts, maybe we fast on negative things that we say out loud to people. We find creative ways to be the best we can possibly be. Through the divine, infinite spirit, great creator, we allow ourselves to tap into our humanness. We allow ourselves to tap into our greatness, our grandness. We allow ourselves to know that we are infinite potentiality. And who we are and how we be every day is through the possibilities of knowing we are loved, we are guided, we are directed, and we are inspired by you. Infinite Great Spirit, Holy Spirit, Creator of all, I know that with your wisdom and guidance, which is my intuitive nature speaking in and through me, I make wise decisions. And I share my wisdom with others. And I appreciate and acknowledge their wise decisions and their wisdom. So knowing that who we are is all of that and so much more, we are connected, inspired, and divine. And knowing that as I've spoken my words of truth to the action of law, we are consciously, collectively making a shift to our next steps of greatness. Letting it be, calling it good and very good. I just let it go, and so it is.
Did we just spend a month talking about fasting?
Yeah, I'm hungry.
I'm glad this month will this too be passing. This too shall pass. Don't take away my 3 meals a day and call it some spiritual thing. Perhaps it is. Perhaps it is a place where I can face my addictions and let them go and let myself know that man does not live by bread alone, whether bread is gluten-free. Food is not my only reality. And I'm not just a body. I'm a spirit in this house. And it's time sometimes to get off the couch. And even if my ego says, ouch, and even if I feel like Oscar the Grouch, to spend a little time taking a break from my habits. And that could be my culinary habits or my mental habits. Let me fast. Let me take a break from believing things that are not in harmony with my soul. Oh, great Creator, sooner or later I'm going to come to you without the attitude of fear. So let it be sooner, let it be now. Let me allow myself to relax in your heart, in your arms, knowing I'm safe from all harm, knowing there is no cause for alarm, releasing all sense of urgency, releasing the state of emergency, and allowing myself to just be in the vicinity of you, one with you. Nothing to do to prove my worthiness, nothing to do to put me at stress, because stress is just forgetting that all is well. And I and you